Hello there, welcome to the Football Block. My name is Brandon. Today we are going to look back at everything that has happened this weekend in the world of football, specifically in Europe's top 5 leagues, of course. There was a lot of stuff that happened this weekend, some crazy matchups, some big games, so let's take a look back and let's start off in the Premier League in England here. And on Saturday, Manchester United finally bounced back after several weeks of poor results. They won against Brentford, but it was definitely not easy as they were actually down a goal for a majority of the game. They went down in the first half, early in the first half, and it wasn't until injury time that they were able to equalize and eventually grab a winner, with Scott McTominay scoring both of the goals in the 94th minute and the 98th minute. He actually scored a hat trick technically, but one of the goals was ruled off. So great performance from McTominay. Not the best performance from United overall, but a necessary win there. Chelsea also finally won another game. They beat Burnley by 4-1, and it was like the floodgates have finally opened and that all of Chelsea's players or big name signings are finally working together. Everything looks to be heading in the right direction. Of course, not everything is perfect. They did concede the first goal and then they had to come back, but still, the fact that they're winning games after, just like United, weeks and weeks of poor results, actually worse than United in that regard, because this goes into last season as well. That's a good result for them. Then on Sunday, we had a pretty high-profile matchup between West Ham United and Newcastle United. This was a pretty close game. Ended up being 2-2 after a very, very hard-fought draw. West Ham scored first. Interestingly enough, Newcastle United was able to not only equalize but then get in the lead, only for West Ham to equalize and leave it at 2-2, which I think is a pretty safe result, pretty fair results, I would say. There was also another 2-2 draw between Liverpool and Brighton, and this game was interesting because I thought Liverpool was actually not the better team for a majority of the first half and for a majority of the second half. I thought Brighton started off on the front foot. They were playing a lot better, but out of nowhere, Liverpool equalized and then got in the lead 2 goals from Salah. I think going forward, Liverpool still have it. They still look very, very formidable. And when you have a guy like Mohamed Salah, of course, goals are always possible. But once Brighton was able to get back in contention after they scored an equalizer relatively late on in the match, it looked as if they were going to grab the winner, not Liverpool. They really had Liverpool on the ropes there. And I think this just goes to show 2 things, and that's one is Brighton, while not as good as last season, they still have some clear talent within the squad. The manager has them playing good football. And Liverpool, as good as they are going forward, they have some severe defensive incapabilities, which is something that I think they failed to address in the transfer window. As for the last game we're going to look at here in the Premier League, we have probably going into the weekend the most high-profile matchup in all of Europe. We had Arsenal against Manchester City, the reigning champions of England versus the team that pushed them the farthest last year. And I gotta admit, this game did not necessarily live up to the billing, in that both teams, I feel, anticipated that it was going to be a tough game, so they went with a more pragmatic kind of defensive approach, and it was very close. I think it is hard to say that one team was convincingly better than the other. The match ended up in a 1-0 result in favor of Arsenal after a deflected goal from Martinelli. It was a good build-up play. The ball came over the top to Tomiyasu, who played it to Kai Havertz, who then laid it off to Martinelli. His shot then deflected off of Nathan Ake and went into the back of the net. It was... at least you can say that it was a good management from Mikel Arteta, because those players that came off the bench are the ones that eventually ended up leading to the winner there. But it's hard to say that Mikel Arteta had Arsenal playing significantly better than City or anything like that. That being said, it doesn't really matter how you win. All it matters is that you won, because when you look at a team like Arsenal, they have not beaten Man City in years at this point, not to mention the way that they were in the lead for a majority of last season until they went up against Man City and they were utterly blown apart twice. I think this is a great result for Arsenal, and it also means that there is a legitimate title race in the Premier League. At the moment, Tottenham is top of the table. They are tied with Arsenal on points, but of course, as the season goes by, you would expect either City or Arsenal to overtake Tottenham, despite not Tottenham playing better than most people thought they would. But I think this will be a very, very close title race, probably slightly closer than it was last year, where Arsenal was in the lead, but then they fell away, and then City kind of ran away with it. So anyway, on to La Liga in Spain. Girona beat Cadiz 1-0, which, despite losing to Real Madrid in the last match, solidifies Girona's spot in second place. They are comfortably in the top 4. Now, it remains to be seen if they're able to keep up this really good run of form throughout the rest of the season, but still, right now they're playing some good football, and more importantly, they are getting the results. Real Madrid played Osasuna in a rematch of the Copa del Rey final from last year, and while the Copa del Rey final was very close with Real Madrid just about edging out Osasuna to come out on top, this match was anything but, with Real Madrid running away 4-0 winners, Jude Bellingham scoring the first goal, continuing his run of great form. He even scored the second goal as well, and then we had a goal from Joselu, who has had some, doubts about him being the starting striker for Real Madrid, but, he's still showing up, and he is reliable. He's proving to be reliable, scoring goals for when his team needs him here. Sevilla tied Rayo Vallecano 2-2. Now, this match was interesting, not just because of what happened on the pitch, but what also happened as a result. First off, Rayo Vallecano raced to a 2-0 lead over Sevilla. It was not looking good. Sevilla was desperately able to fight back. In fact, they scored in the very last minute of regulation time with Youssef En-Nesyri, who is a penchant for coming up with late important goals. He scored a really nice header off corner to steal a 2-2 draw. But this match then resulted in the firing of Sevilla's manager, Mendilibar, who was hired as an interim manager last year after Sevilla started off in terrible form. They had a series of managers coming and going. Mendilibar came in, meaning to stabilize the situation. He was able to stabilize it in La Liga, didn't really do too much there, but his saving grace was that he went on to win the Europa League, very impressively so. If he had not won the Europa League, he probably would not have stayed because, again, he was just an interim manager. But because he won the Europa League, they extended his contract, but there was kind of a feeling that it wasn't going to work out, especially with guys like Bono leaving in the summer, as well as Montiel. And the Sevilla team is looking like they were in the middle of last season. They have not been playing well recently. They've had a few good results here and there, but overall it has been very poor. I think it's maybe a little harsh to sack Mendilibar considering he just won the Europa League just a few months ago, essentially. But still, it is, you can see from the Sevilla board's point of view why they sack him here. But what I think is the poor decision is if you were eventually going to sack him, if you always had this idea in the back of your mind that you were going to sack him, why did you extend his contract in the first place? It would have been, acceptable in many ways to not necessarily sack him, but let him go after winning the Europa League there because, again, he was an interim manager. He was not meant to be a long-term replacement. And with this situation here, it's a question of who's going to come in, and Sevilla could potentially just ruin this whole season here. Anyway, on to Sunday. Villarreal surprisingly lost to Las Palmas. Villarreal is another team that's kind of having an up-and-down season after firing Quique Setién, which was a questionable decision within itself. And Villarreal is not doing anywhere near as good as they should be with this type of squad they had. Atletico Madrid was able to defeat Real Sociedad. A very close game here. It ended up being 2-1. Real Sociedad has been one of the best teams in Spain and one of the best teams in Europe, at least just in terms of the way they play. They've had some very, very fun games to watch and some players in great form, but they were not able to overcome Atletico Madrid, despite being able to equalize and hold the score to 1-1 for a majority of the second half. But a penalty was called, and Antoine Griezmann, who's been having a good season himself, was able to step up and poke home the winner, sending Atletico Madrid back into the top 4. Elsewhere, we had a controversial result here. Celta Vigo tied Getafe 2-2. That is not what is controversial, though. What is controversial is that Mason Greenwood, who is at Getafe, back playing football, Manchester United winger who has been banished from the club essentially, scored here. There's a whole controversial reason behind that, whole controversial story behind that, not relating to events that happened on the pitch. Then in the last game on Sunday, we had Granada going up against Barcelona, hosting Barcelona in their home stadium. Granada has been one of the worst teams in La Liga this year, or this season at least. But they scored a goal within the first 20 seconds, one of the fastest goals in La Liga history. And then they actually scored a second goal. Brian Zaragoza, who's a very quick player, was the scorer of both of those goals. The second one in particular was a beautiful goal. Jules Koundé had absolutely no chance there. But Lamine Yamal, who started this game, mind you, scored to make it 2-1. He got a goal back for Barcelona. A bit of an easy goal, a lucky goal after good play from João Felix. But it doesn't matter how you score him. It just matters how you put him. It just matters that you put him in the back of the net. And Lamine Yamal becomes the youngest goal scorer, not just for Barcelona, but in La Liga history there. Massive record broken, and he overall had a really good game, and he's been having a really good season as well. It is really cool to see the resurgence of La Masia players, whether it be someone like Lamine Yamal or someone like Ronald Araujo, and of course Pedri and Gavi. Into the second half, though, Barcelona struggled a little bit. They had, of course, most of the possession. It looked like they were creating chances. It looked like they would eventually get back into the game, and eventually they did. In rather controversial style, Sergio Roberto was able to poke home the equalizer after kind of a mix-up in the box after Getafe's own defensive calamities, which was kind of comical in some sense. Barcelona looked to have scored the winner when João Felix headed in across from João Cancelo, but this was ruled for being offside after Ferran Torres had jumped for the ball as well, but he was very slightly and incredibly slightly just in an offside position. The VAR looked at it and ruled the goal offside, and it finished 2-2. And if you look at the La Liga table, that means that Real Madrid is comfortably on top. Girona is still up there, they're second place, and Barcelona is in third, and Atletico Madrid is in fourth. But Atletico Madrid have a game in hand. If they were to win that game, they could leapfrog Barcelona in third. Anyways, on to Serie A in Italy. We had some pretty interesting matchups as well. We had Inter Milan going up against Bologna, and as I've said before last week and the week before, Inter Milan has proved to be the best team in Serie A, in my opinion. And the first few minutes of this match here proved that very, very evidently so, as they went up 2-0 within 12 minutes. They were utterly blowing Bologna away. In particular, that second goal from Inter Milan was an absolute bullet of a strike from far out from Lautaro Martinez. It was his 10th goal of the season. He is the top goal scorer in Serie A by some distance. But Bologna was able to sneak back into the game. They made it 2-1 in the first half, and then in the second half, they were able to put together a goal to score, and they were able to tie 2-2. And you know, this is a stumble here from Inter Milan. I'm not sure if you can read too much into it, considering how well they've been playing in other matches here, but still, it shows that they are not indestructible and they can falter, and that while currently they might be the best team in Italy, the title is still up for grabs. In the Turin derby, Juventus was able to defeat Torino 2-0. A goal from Gatti and a goal from Milik. It's good to see Milik scoring after he's been having a turbulent career after serious injuries, despite playing well early on. But also elsewhere in Serie A on Saturday, we had Genoa hosting AC Milan, which was probably the best match of any league in the world this weekend. Absolute crazy match, and more so because of the last, I want to say, 10 minutes, which were just utter chaos. The game was pretty tight overall. Genoa, of course, is not doing too well in Serie A. All they had to do is just stop AC Milan from scoring. They were able to, for the most part, stifle AC Milan's attack. They just defended deep, really frustrated AC Milan's players there. It was a very tense game. There was lots of yellow cards early on. AC Milan did have some chances, but still, it was looking very tough. That was until Christian Pulisic came off the bench, and deep into the second half, in the 87th minute, he was able to poke home a goal here after a cross came over the box, and it was a rather acrobatic finish, pretty good finish from Pulisic there, who has been having an amazing start to his career in AC Milan after a disappointing season last year for Chelsea. He is coming to this AC Milan side and just utterly lit up Serie A here. Yet another goal from him, which would eventually prove to be the winner, but after that point, the match went into just utter chaos. Mike Mignon in goal for AC Milan was given a straight red card after rushing out of his goal and trying to clear the ball, but accidentally kneeing one of Genoa's strikers in the neck outside of the box. So he was given a straight red card in the 99th minute. But at that point, AC Milan had no more subs, so Olivier Giroud, of all people, then put on the gloves and put on the goalkeeping shirt and stood in the nets. He actually made a double save. Really unorthodox save, not something that you would see from a goalkeeper, but of course Giroud himself is not naturally a goalkeeper, but still, a save is a save. He stopped it from going in, and then in the last moment of the game, Josep Martinez, the goalkeeper for Genoa, came up to just do whatever he can to salvage a draw for Genoa, and then he got a double yellow card, and he was sent off. So both goalkeepers ended up being sent off in this match. There was a few chances from Genoa at the end, but Giroud was able to maintain a clean sheet, and AC Milan go through 1-0 winners. An absolute crazy result. If you have a chance to watch the highlights on YouTube, at least, I highly recommend you do so. Anyway, on Sunday in Serie A, we had a crazy game between Lazio and Atalanta. Very back and forth game. Lazio raced to a 2-0 lead. They were playing great. They looked to be finally playing how Maurizio Sarri wants them to be playing. But Atalanta still show that they're a team that has serious talent, despite maybe not being as strong as they were 2-3 years ago. And they were able to score one and then score another to keep the scores equal at 2-2. That was until Vecino, the Uruguayan midfielder who has been having a resurgence of form under Sarri here at Lazio, was able to score a very acrobatic finish to win it 3-2. Very important win for Lazio there. Elsewhere, Roma was able to beat Cagliari 4-1. Very good result for them. Lukaku keeps up his goal-scoring form, as does Bolatti, both of them on the score sheet today. And then Napoli fell to Fiorentina. Napoli has been proving to not be as strong as they were last season. Now, Osimhen was able to score, so he has been in good goal-scoring form himself, but the rest of the team just looks lethargic. They lack consistency. They don't have that ambition that they have last season, which is expected to some degree. But good result from Fiorentina's point of view, where they actually played pretty well. If you look at the table, AC Milan is on top with that vital win over Genoa, and after Inter Milan's draw with Bologna, Juventus is in third, and Fiorentina, with their win over Napoli, has crept into the top four, very deservedly so. Anyways, on to the Bundesliga in Germany. We had a good result here from Stuttgart, who was able to beat Wolfsburg 1-0. The striker, Guirassy, was able to score a hat-trick. He's been in absolutely insane form this season. One of the best strikers in Europe. Expect a big team to come and sign him in the summer transfer window, if not the January transfer window, because he has been playing really well, as has Stuttgart overall as well. Leipzig was not able to score in this nil results with Bochum. Surprising result there. But Borussia Dortmund, on the other hand, was able to turn around a series of disappointing results and win 4-2 over Union Berlin. And then on Sunday, Bayern Munich went up against Freiburg. Big matchup there in the regards to the Bundesliga, and Bayern Munich played very well. Freiburg had absolutely no chance throughout most of the match. Leroy Sané was able to link up very well with Harry Kane. They were able to score a good goal, and then Coman was able to grab a brace. The first one was kind of a deflected goal that came out of nowhere. It looked like a cross, and then, after a deflection, it crept in. And the second goal also took a deflection, but it very clearly was a shot there. So, brace from Coman, kind of an unorthodox, lucky-ish brace from him. Good results for Bayern overall, however. And Bayer Leverkusen beat Cologne 3-0. They keep up their good form under Xabi Alonso. And if you look at the Bundesliga table, Bayer Leverkusen is actually top of the table, and Stuttgart is in second, with Bayern Munich in third. They are actually level on points with Borussia Dortmund, who has been slowly creeping back up the table. So it'll be very interesting to see as the weeks go by how this title race will match up, and hopefully there will be a legitimate title race in the Bundesliga this year. As for the Ligue 1, the French league, we had some interesting results as well. Monaco, after kind of having a chaotic last year, has been steering into stability. They had a strong 3-1 win over Stade Reims. Ben Yedder and Balogun keep up their good goal-scoring form. Ben Yedder, of course, legend for Monaco, legend in Ligue 1 so far. And then on Sunday, Lyon tied Lorient 3-3. Absolutely crazy result. It was raining goals here. Lacazette scored twice. He has been an underrated player after leaving Arsenal, in my opinion. And then PSG was able to bounce back from their embarrassing destruction by Newcastle in the Champions League midweek to beat Rennes 3-1. Vitinha scored a very nice goal, as did Hakimi, and Kolo Muani has scored yet another goal, the new transfer over the summer. But unfortunately, there was a very, very tragic scene here in the French league. We had Montpellier versus Clermont. They were winning 4-2 until one of the fans threw a flare on the field, and it hit Clermont's goalkeeper, and it was a Montpellier fan, mind you, that threw the flare. And unfortunately, the match had to be abandoned, and most likely Montpellier will be penalized for this. Of course, you don't like to see this. You don't like to see, fans getting way too out of hand, throwing projectiles onto the field and injuring players. It is my understanding that the goalkeeper is okay at the moment, but still there was, it was an injury to the point where the game could not continue. So, eyes on France to see what will go on from here. But of course, that is not something that any of us like to see in a game, in a sport like this. So anyway, guys, that has been my recap for the weekend here, Europe's top 5 leagues. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think of any of the games here. Do you think that Arsenal was lucky in their win over Manchester City? What do you think of Olivier Giroud playing in goal for AC Milan? And what do you think of the whole situation between Montpellier and Clermont? Like I said, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. But anyway, guys, my name is Brandon, and this has been the Football Block. Hope you guys have a nice rest of your night.